And today it begins. My son is going to start 30 days of eating a ketogenic diet for the purpose of seeing how that will affect his ADHD. My son is 15 years old. He was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 9 years old. And we have tried a myriad of things to help him cope and live with the various symptoms that ADHD has presented with in his life. But before I get too far into that, I also wanted to say that at the age of 3, he was diagnosed with sensory processing deficits. And that's where you don't integrate all of the things as far as your 5 senses, you don't integrate that well. So if you can imagine when you go outside and the sun is just glaring down and you're kind of squinting, and then a cloud comes over the sun and you feel that instant relief. Most of us that don't have sensory issues live in that sense of relief. But people that have sensory integration processing disorder, they're living in that the sun is, bright and blinding me type of sensation, uncomfortable, can't really think right all the time. And it's not just for him in one sensory area, it's actually all 5. And so he was actually diagnosed with that first. Like I said, he was 3 years old. And he would have severe temper tantrums every single day at preschool. And it's because he was totally overwhelmed with all of the things, sights, sounds, smells, touches, and yes, even tastes, or actually in his case, textures. And so it was, we immediately started occupational therapy. They started working with him on those things. And he had occupational therapy for 7, 8 years. And in that time, he's gotten much better. He went from far, far below the normal range to a low normal range in 4 out of 5 of the senses. But the one that was kind of left behind was having to do with his mouth. So some people, they need to eat really spicy or strong flavors that have this. Some people need textures, but some people, like my son, don't want anything either spicy or textured. So everything needed to be sort of bland and almost like a pureed consistency. And I'm not talking just a preference here. I'm talking whenever we would try, when he was little, to give him anything solid that wasn't just in a pureed form, he would literally throw up, like not spit it out, throw up. And so you only want to try that as a parent, so many times, because that's like anti-nutrition, right? If he's supposed to be eating for his nutrition and he's literally throwing up, then the opposite is happening. So we did keep trying, but not every day. We just would keep working at it, and he gradually, increased where he could eat more than just baby food. But he still, to this day, has some texture issues. So the other thing is with that, his ligaments, which are supposed to kind of make your body sort of rigid, like if you're sitting on the floor, like kids, we'll do carpet time, things like that at school. So if you're sitting like that, crisscross applesauce, as they say, on the floor, most people have ligaments that are sort of rigid and will do most of the work. His are not rigid at all. So they're flexible and flimsy and do not help hold him upright, which means to compensate for that, his muscles are doing most of the work. Well, that's tiring. So that would be another reason why when he would need to sit still, he would often be fidgety, because when your muscles get overworked, you kind of want to stretch them out, shake them out, all that stuff. On top of the sensory integration processing and on top of the ADHD. So kind of like a triple whammy there. All the symptoms kind of, stacking. And then for ADHD, it's all the classical things of, having a lot of energy, having a hard time, focusing, especially at school, staying in one place, sitting still, doing what you're supposed to do. But ADHD also has a plethora of effects. It's kind of like an iceberg where, the tip of the iceberg that you can see, that most people see or think of, is like all the things I said, right? Too much energy, can't sit still, can't focus, doesn't do well in school for those reasons, and so on. But under the iceberg, under the surface, is the majority of that iceberg. And that includes a variety of things. Immaturity, not understanding like consequences. So you can give a child with ADHD consequences. And of course we did and do that, but they have a very hard time connecting the consequence to the action. The immaturity is usually behind by about 3 years. So an ADHD child who is 9 is often like emotionally, they're like 6. ODD often goes with ADHD. And although my son is not diagnosed, I could have easily gotten him diagnosed. So that's oppositional defiance disorder. So basically what the adult says, that's not going to happen. It's like you gotta make it seem like it's his idea if you want compliance. So again, I'm not going to go deep into these issues. I'm just kind of giving the broad overview. And a plethora of others. But, as you can see with all of these conditions, he's had a very, very, very challenging time with childhood, with school in particular. Some of the things we've done have included having him on an IEP, and that it was not because of a learning disability. He's other health impaired, qualifying under his ADHD diagnosis. If you look at his IQ, it's actually above normal. He often tests very well, but it's the day-to-day, got to get this assignment done, got to get that assignment done, in order to get the good grade in class. He often will not do work on time or even do work at all. So that day-to-day grind of getting work done. The act of writing with a pencil, because of his struggles with his ligaments, very difficult. And so he had some accommodations that were supposed to be in place, like using a computer and things like that. Now that he's in high school, that's obviously a lot more is done on the computer. So that part of it's a little easier. But the part about actually completing assignments, getting work done, staying on top of things, staying organized in order to be successful, has been challenging. So to the point that his report card was actually mostly good, but he got a D in English. Now, everything that he turned in English, he got an A or a B on for the most part. But at the very end, he neglected to turn in 2 essays, important ones. So he's going to have to go to summer school now to make up that class. So yeah, that's like his most recent struggle. And I feel like this video is already too long and I haven't even started on the important part yet. That's just the background. So maybe in the future I can go in some more into detail, but it's been a struggle. We've even tried a medication. He didn't like the medication. He says it kind of makes him feel like he can still feel the crazy fidgety energy, but like the medicine makes him hold still, but all the energy is still there. So he feels trapped in his own body. And just be aware that I understand the ramifications of that medicine, but when your son is not able to pass classes and make it through school, sometimes you got to try what you got to try. So that was our last resort after a plethora of occupational therapy that we paid for out of our own pocket, meetings at school, IEP plans, 504 plans, conferences, bringing in an outside experts, taking advantage of the speech therapist at the school, all the things. So yeah. Anyway, with that said, I started the carnivore diet in June. I started keto in February, carnivore in June. I started my YouTube channel in August, the very end of August of 2023. So with that, with my channel being started in August of 2023, my son, well, both my sons, but this is about my younger one, my 15-year-old, he's heard now all of this carnivore YouTube stuff going on sort of in the background of his life. And then in November at Thanksgiving is when it wasn't like a plan. It wasn't a plot. It wasn't laid out and, thought through. But in retrospect, because of his sensory texture eating issues, many times we would go to family gatherings and I would pack him food. And I was just done with that. So at Thanksgiving, I said, look, here's the food that's going to be served. We're going to my mom's. She's heavy meat-based keto. And so it was going to be a lot of meat there. And then the side dishes that other non-keto carnivore family members were bringing. I said, here's what's going to be there. You can either eat what's there or you can bring your own stuff to eat, but I will not be packing you food. And what ended up happening, fortunately, at that family gathering is my mom had made like a pork shoulder in a crock pot. So it was like, in a crock pot. So it was cooked all day and it was not too chewy, right? It was easy to eat and it was very good. And so he had a giant helping of that pork shoulder and he really liked it. And fortunately also no one brought any macaroni and cheese because that would have been the end of that. He would have had the mac and cheese and that would have been it. So he ate that pork shoulder at that Thanksgiving meal and he enjoyed it. And that was like such a win, such a victory. And, I had made some other carnivore things after that. So I had done some meatloaf, which he enjoyed, and he actually asked me to make it again, right? I let him try picanha, which is my personal favorite, and lo and behold, he liked it. And then when we went to my brother's for Christmas, I don't know what kind of beef roast it was. It was some kind of big piece of beef. It was a roast, and my brother made it in the oven, and he liked it so much, he asked if we could please bring some leftovers home. And my brother was okay with that. And so we did. And then the next day, he even asked me to heat it up for him. So all of these things in light of the previous issues with eating, with food, with texture and all of that, it was like he was starting to like meat more and more. And the next thing I thought was, well, let's start tackling breakfast. So I made some protein pancakes, which were a pretty big hit. He really liked those. I've got that recipe on my channel if you want to try them. And then I thought, well, let's try the pizza pockets, carnivore pizza pockets. Now I made them ketovore, so it's mozzarella cheese, pepperoni, a scoop of already cooked up mild Italian sausage, and then I did put a scoop of the Rayo's marinara sauce, another slice of cheese, and bake those up because I thought that would be a great alternative for him for pizza. And he liked those. He liked them so much, he asked me to teach him how to make it, which I did. And then he made them for 2 more nights in a row after that. And so I thought, well, goodness, like all these things are going so well. He liked the sausage in those pizza pocket things. So maybe I could do like some eggs with butter and some sausage, which I did. And he ate that. So a couple days later, I tried eggs with like chopped up bacon and he did that. So, I mean, he's just expanding into all these protein foods, which has been so amazing. And so I finally, after all of that, right, presented the idea that carnivore/keto diets have been shown to help people with brain issues like ADHD. And would he be interested in trying out that type of diet for 30 days to see if it helps him with his ADHD symptoms. And when I presented that to him, he thought about it. And then he said, well, the hardest thing to give up is going to be ice cream. So yeah, the youth speaks the truth, you guys. Youth speaks truth. So no lie. Ice cream is very hard to give up, especially when someone is addicted to sugar and has been used to eating that their whole life. And so I went ahead and bought a Ninja Creamy. And last night I made a vanilla ice cream mix out of heavy cream, some cream cheese, a little bit of vanilla extract, and some allulose, a little allulose, just sweeten it up just a little bit. And believe me that I am perfectly fine with that swap for sugared ice cream. He is young. He is metabolically healthy. He is not overweight. Many people have told me he needs to put weight on, but what's funny is when he goes to the doctor, he's right on with his weight. I think people may just be used to seeing kids that are have a little more weight on them these days. So anyways, I've got that in the freezer and it's ready to go. He can do that tonight after his dinner. But you heard me say tonight, right? Today is day 1 of his trial of eating a ketogenic diet to see how it affects his ADHD. And I could not be more excited, more happy to get this going. I really hope that you follow us along on this journey. I will be keeping you posted. To be sure, he does not like to be on camera, but I will be getting input and feedback from him every step of the way, and reporting to you, how it's going, any symptoms, any adaptation things, how the month goes, how his school is going, how he feels, and if he decides to continue at the end of the 30 days. So today, the food plan is scrambled eggs with some bacon, and I have some picanha for later, left over from yesterday, which he really likes, and then some of that ice cream that I just mentioned. And I'll be videoing that separately, maybe, and putting up like a week of eating, or I don't really know. I don't have like a plan of how I'm going to document this, but I know many people have told me that they're interested. So yeah, we're going to give this a try and I will let you know. Now, I did want to relay a couple of things that he said to me just yesterday. So this is before we ever even started. This is pretty amazing that he said this to me. And he said it I didn't ask him, like he just said it. He just volunteered this information. So he said, I have noticed that on the days I eat more meat, when I get hungry later, like, he stays up till 10, 11 at night, whatever. If I get hungry at that time, normally I would head for the Doritos, but on days when I've eaten a lot of meat, I kind of look at those Doritos and I don't even want them. I mean, he's just been eating more meat in general, still with some carbs mixed in. So that was just wow. I think, when you're younger and metabolically healthy, like the positive effects can maybe happen sooner, maybe, and like with less restriction needed. I'm not really sure, but I was like, that's incredible, because when I went carnivore fully, I noticed something similar where that type of, food-like substance doesn't look appealing to me at all. And so, yeah, he said that he definitely doesn't like want that stuff after he's eaten like a more meat heavy day. It just doesn't seem like a snack that he would want to partake in. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought you guys would like to maybe hear that. Let me know if you have a young person in your life, child, grandchild, whatever, that maybe you want to get started with, if I can give you any advice or help. I mean, I'm filling this out as I go along as well. So if you have tips, things you've done, tried, if you have kids already eating this way, if you've done things that have helped you be successful, or if you've seen some roadblocks that have popped up and then what you did to get over them, put them in the comments. I would love to hear that stuff. Yeah, so we're gonna give this a try and keep you guys posted. And I guess I'm going to go meet some wellness, one kid on a ketogenic diet for the next 30 days at a time. All right, day 1 of the 30-day keto / carnivore / ketovore experiment to see if it'll help with my son's ADHD. And here is the breakfast. So I did 3 eggs. They are pasture-raised eggs. I scrambled them in a tablespoon of butter. This is, 2 or 3 strips of bacon that I actually did first in bits. Made them into like bacon bits and got them crispy, and then did the eggs in there. And I didn't measure any of this, but about 6 ounces of whole milk. Now, he loves his milk, and I didn't take that away, but I am switching him to whole milk from 2%. And I looked into raw milk, but let me tell you, it is $24 a gallon. So that cannot happen financially. But here is the first meal on our new 30-day adventure. Okay, this is his second meal. These are going to be the Carnivore pizza pockets. I usually put sausage in. Whoa. But as you can see, it's not cooked yet. So I'm going to cook up that pound of sausage, so we'll have that for the future this week. But these are a slice of mozzarella cheese, 5 slices of pepperoni, a scoop of the Rayo's marinara sauce, and I'm going to put the lids on. Another slice of mozzarella cheese. We bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 4 minutes, and these are just on parchment paper. And yeah, he ate his first meal at about 10 a.m. Now it's about 3:30 p.m. and he's saying he's hungry, so I'm making this for him. All right, here's what they look like after cooking for 4 minutes, and that sizzle is the sausage that I told you I was going to brown up. But I'm going to get a spatula, put these on a plate, and we'll be good to go. Okay, here you have it. 1 delicious ketovore lunch, 2 pizza pockets with pepperoni and a little bit of Rayo's marinara. And in the cup here is just some water with some, like a half a scoop of the Relight electrolytes. Hope he enjoys this. Okay, meal number 3. He's not very hungry because it's only been about 3.5 hours since those pizza pockets, but it is a little after 6 p.m. on a school night. So we got to get moving towards getting ready for school in the morning. 1 slice of leftover picanha and about 4 ounces of whole milk is what he's going to have for dinner.